content on YouTube is harder than commonly considered. The hard part is not only even having people find your videos in the first place, but you also want people to enjoy them once they find them, to anticipate your next creation, to enjoy what you make. It's a common trend in the gaming community to center your videos about yourself, to have an image you use. The thing is, however, that inherently no one is going to be simply interested in you as a person. Instead, you have to play a necessary role. This is where Uncle Dane flourishes. When Uncle Dane succeeds, all you should experience is the mechanics. It's no secret that YouTube has changed and the landscape of TF2 YouTube videos has changed even more. We have developed from garage mod amateur videos filled with quickfire humor and lowbrow jokes to gameplay and gaming personalities. While earlier with content creators focusing entirely on creating humor through the personalities of the characters, exaggerating them to the point of creating a parallel universe entirely sustained by the community. The popular content of Team Fortress 2 has changed to having footage of the game combined with one central person, one central personality, and their approach to the game. While people like Star and Germa were entirely carried by the humor, with skill being a supplemental factor, they never truly focused on educating their audience. They were never a true focused or in-depth video explaining all the nitty-gritty details and strategies found in a game as complex as Team Fortress. The new wave of TF2 YouTubers are a different breed. They usually tend to focus on a single class, and they fill their content with themselves. Every inch is filled with who they are, and then polished with a sense of humor. Uncle Dane, however, was something the community desperately needed. This is why he grew popular. While he says himself that he wanted to be one of the first real engineer YouTubers, his success goes much deeper than that.
So, I guess I started doing these TF2 videos because I felt like there wasn't a whole lot of engineer mains on YouTube.
Not only does he simply play the engineer, but he educates, he expands the world of his viewers. His videos are not simply random loadout episode 51 or unbelievable rage hacker in competitive. Instead, they are showcases and explanations about the game. An expansion of what is possible for a class, usually considered stale and simplistic. While legends like Sigafoo also revolutionized the class, Dane reaches the more casual part of the community. He is a translator, an innovator. This is where so many other people fail. They are obsessed with the wrong parts. They try and copy his style, but they forget the appeal. Keep in mind, back at the release of the game, only the sentry could be upgraded. Dispensers and teleporters were locked at level 1. Combine this with the total lack of items and teleporters costing 125 metal, and you have a class that was never considered viable. He was both stuck with his buildings, and he had heavily limited tools to allow a true free roaming experience. The reason is that the developer's mindset behind the engineer was different than it is now.
Thanks to the engineer's AI-controlled sentry gun was one of the more difficult design problems in Team Fortress 2.
If the sentry gun was too powerful, only the most skilled players would be able to counteract it. If the gun was too weak, the engineer would have no chance against the skilled player, effectively eliminating any reason to build it in the first place. Their solution was to make the sentry gun essentially a binary in the sense that it's lethal to opponents who don't take cover, but can't intelligently deal with enemies popping in and out of cover. This forces the engineer to use his secondary weapons to compensate for the sentry gun's corner weaknesses, while still making a sentry gun a formidable obstacle for any opponent simply attempting to sprint past it. The engineer was also burdened by his lackluster ability to support his team. If you wanted to provide damage, any damage-heavy class would be a better pick. If you wanted to support your team, a medic would objectively be seen as better. The public opinion of the engineer, a useless, static and boring class, survived the engineer update, which went live just 3 years after the original game's release. The update added the familiar Frontier Justice, Wrangler and Gunslinger, as well as the Southern Hospitality. Now, years later, the engineer has an entire arsenal, allowing a completely new ways of thinking about the class and the game in its entirety. The update was an objective buff to the class. There was no increased build times, no reduced weapon damage. Valve simply acknowledged that the class needed a facelift. This is why Uncle Dane is a long time coming. He showed the current state, the relevant and true state of a forgotten class that had changed completely while no one else was looking.